Adding muscle to recovery efforts in disaster-stricken areas. The EU Solidarity Fund gets the go-ahead from the European Parliament for its largest ever mobilization, 1.2 billion euros for earthquake-devastated areas of Italy, among dozens of actions across the European Union, including help after forest fires in southern Europe and flooding in the north and east. Hello and welcome to People First, the EPP Group's monthly program on issues with impact on people like you. Joining us to answer some of your questions is Giovanni La Via. You're a member of the European Parliament's Committee on Environment, Public Health and Food Safety and a member of the Budget Committee. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask you first, the Solidarity Fund. What does it say for the European Union, considering that in some ways solidarity is lacking here?
Yes, I think that this signal, it is a very important European signal because the European Union is going to show that we are not alone. There is someone in Europe who is ready to support us in case of difficulties. This is the case of a Solidarity Fund, 1.2 billion, that is the highest amount given to a single country. And I think that it is a good signal in a difficult period for the European Union.
Especially considering that even Italy has been a front line on the migrant crisis.
Yes.
And has complained in the past about a lack of solidarity.
Yes, because we are the front office of the migration flow. And as you know, every day we have a lot of small boats arriving on our coast. And on the other side, there was also a big destroy in the central area of Italy and with big damages. The total amount of damages is about 24 billion of euros. And then this important signal coming from the European Solidarity Fund, it is very important for the Italian population.
Well, let's take a look at our report on the fund, and including that, what's been done up to now. The European Union Solidarity Fund, also known by its initials EUSF, was created after devastating floods in Central Europe in 2002. The objective, to clean up disaster areas and prevent further soil erosion, to restore damaged infrastructure like water, power, telecom, health, and education, and to protect cultural heritage sites. Since then, the EU has spent more than 5 billion euros in solidarity funding more than 70 times in 24 member states as a result of catastrophic events like floods, forest fires, earthquakes, storms, and drought. In the latest action, the European Parliament's Budget Committee approved 1.2 billion euros for central Italian regions after earthquakes there last year and early this year killed more than 300 people and left tens of thousands homeless. Affected regions include Abruzzo, Lazio, Marche, and Umbria. EU funding has already been flowing to the quake-hit areas, with more on the way to aid in the reconstruction. So let's go to our Vox Pop questions, our first one. And this one about, quite simply, how it all works.
Donc, quelles sont les conditions pour recevoir cette aide?
Okay, quite simple, but let's take it further. How bad does it have to be, and how difficult is it to get that kind of funding?
It is not very difficult, but the European Solidarity Fund come up when there is a big damage. It is not possible to reconstruct or to rebuild what is damaged from a single country.
So it has to be in the millions, even billions, right?
Yes,
yeah.
We are discussing about billions.
Yeah.
If you have a small storm or a small earthquake, it is not a problem of a Solidarity Fund. And then it is clear that we are here, in this case, in front of a big event, and in the big event we need a big support, and this is the Solidarity Fund this time.
So let's talk about one of those big disasters and the hurricanes that swept through the Caribbean, including damaging a number of EU member islands, and that's putting the EU to the test. Here's a question on that.
Comment mes fonds vont être dépensés rapidement pour aider ces gens qui ont malheureusement connu un désastre naturel, Irma en l'occurrence.
Okay, Irma was just one of them, but there's also an effort to streamline how the funding gets to people, right?
Yes, usually the member states who are involved in the disaster are the first able to give aid to the population. Later, after a request to the European Union and after a specific request with some request of money for specific intervention, the European Union is going to give help. The help is limited to a partial amount of the total damages. And usually we take European money for social reconstruction, for helping public houses and so on, but not for private houses. We use for that sometimes the European Cohesion Fund, and the European Union gives the possibility to use the European Structural Fund with a 95% of public aid. That is a very, very high percentage.
Now let's talk about a theoretical question from a student that could apply to just about any natural disaster. Here it is.
Donc imaginons que l'école Mariab soit touchée par un tremblement de terre. Comment on pourrait faire pour reconstruire l'école et aider l'école?
Okay, now she's standing outside her school. She's imagining that school crumbled by an earthquake. But there are limits to how that funding is funneled to something like that.
We are using, for instance, the Solidarity Fund coming from the European Union also for rebuild the school, or all the public buildings are going to be rebuilt using European money. Like schools.
What about rebuilding cultural heritage sites? How could that be done when there are also other pressing priorities?
Yes, it is difficult when you have a limited amount of money and you have a lot of necessity. For this reason, the Italian government asked the European Union also a signal the possibility to use a small amount of money of 1.2 billion for the reconstruction of an heritage of our culture. And this is the reason for which we are using this money for rebuilding the Cathedral of Norcia. That is one symbol of the culture, of the history of that region.
I guess also because it is a tourist site.
Yes.
And that means tourist money coming in if the tourists keep
Yes.
coming, right? Now, nearly all EU member states have benefited from this Solidarity Fund, except Belgium. Belgium is one of those that has not benefited from that, and here's a question on that.
Pourquoi ils ne bénéficient pas de ce fonds, étant donné qu'il y a quand même aussi beaucoup de difficultés en Belgique pour trouver de l'emploi?
Okay, now solidarity comes in different ways, doesn't it? And
we have some specific fund at the European Union level. We have not only the Solidarity Fund, but we have also, for instance, the Fund for the Adjustment of Globalization that Belgium have used many times for supporting some workers in difficulties because they have lost their work. And then we have not seen in the past in Belgium big climatic disaster or natural disaster, and we hope for Belgium to have not in the future this. But on the other side, they have used the European Fund for giving new professionalities, new knowledge, new skill to workers who have lost their work.
So you know quite well about funding because you're on the budget committee.
Yes, I was general rapporteur of the budget of the European Union.
So let me ask you about this then. Do you think the next annual budget could come up with more money for this Solidarity Fund?
It is not so easy for two different reasons. We have an additional question coming from new policy, and on the other hand, we need strong support for the whole policy. For instance, we have the Common Agricultural Policy. We're going to use about 40% of the global amount of the European budget. We have the Cohesion Fund, with which we are going to help the poorest country in Europe. And on the other side, we have additional policy related to migration that were not known in the past when we established the multi-annual framework,
That's true.
Financial framework for 7 years. And now we are going to take some money to have a policy coming from different policies for supporting the migration policy that is going to absorb every year more and more money.
Which in a sense is also solidarity then.
Yes, it is solidarity, it is integration, it is also a support to poor people who cannot live in their country.
Giovanni La Via, thank you very much for answering
Thank you
those
to you.
questions. That's it for now on People First. Find out more about the activities of the largest political force in Parliament by checking eppgroup.eu. Until next time, thanks for watching.